الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We're going to continue studying Tawheed Ar-Ruboobiyah, and last week we mentioned that for any matter it must first of all have an existence, then an announcement, and then a feeling in relation to that. And then we tried to explain Tawheed Ar-Ruboobiyah by way of introduction, and we said Tawheed Ar-Ruboobiyah is to direct Allah as the sole creator, the sole sustainer, the only one who can guide, the only one who can choose to leave someone in misguidance, the one who can bring someone to izzah, and the one who someone can choose to live in humiliation. And we said Ar-Ruboobiyah is a classification of Tawheed. If we want to look at the Tawheed as like a tree, and you can see it's got its roots, for example, the foundations of it are understanding the divisions or the classifications of how to reject the Tawhut. So these are, for example, 5 heads of Tawhut. These are 5 ways of rejecting Tawhut. You got the tree is growing now, and now you've got a classification of it, which is like a branch. If you try to visualize this, it's like a branch, and that branch is called Tawheed Ar-Ruboobiyah. And from there you've got different stems, yeah. And without those stems, the tree is going to look kind of boring. If it's just one stick going up here with one line there, one line there, it's not much of a tree. Every tree's got to have leaves. So we'll call that the classification, and then we have something called the detailed matters of the classification, which is a division, right? So we said there's 4, and we explained, the history and all that. I don't want to repeat myself anyway, but we said there's Tawheed al-Halq, which is what? The exclusive right of Allah being the sole creator. Al-Ifrad, remember we kept mentioning this word previously as well. So the exclusive right of Allah being the creator. Then Tawheed al-Tadbir wal-Tasarruf, Allah being the exclusive one who can control and manage. Then the third one we mentioned was Tawheed al-Qadr, also known as Tawheed al-Hakamiyah Taqwaniyah, meaning the one who controls all fate and destiny. He has knowledge of the unseen as well, the knowledge of Allah. Then the fourth one is known as Tawheed al-Zat, Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat, anything to do with Allah himself. So his names, his attributes, you can see each one is on its own a topic. So for example, when we talk about Tawheed al-Halq, we're talking about the functions of Allah. Tawheed al-Zat, we're talking about the attributes of Allah. So when we understand the ilm al-Tawheed, it is we need to lay down that the whole purpose of it is to lay down our belief in Allah. And by affirming Tawheed Ar-Ruboobiyah, we're acknowledging He's a sole creator, commander, manager, and provider. If we go back and just recap on the last point that we went through, which was the meaning of a Rabb, and what is the linguistic meaning of a Rabb, and the Sharia meaning of a Rabb, you can see they're both the same really. And we're going to go through them just very briefly. I'm not going to mention all the references and stuff because we've already done that, yeah? But we said, number 1, it has the owner. Allah is the owner of something, yeah? The 3 definitions we gave for a Rabb, we need to combine all 3 of them. Whatever you hear in terms of the linguistic meaning, that is Allah in the Sharia meaning, yeah? So the owner of something, Allah is the owner. What was the example we gave? We gave the example, for example, someone can say, He is Rabbul Bayt. He is the owner of the house. So Allah He's the owner of not just your house, my house. He's the owner of all the houses, including the biggest house we live in, planet Earth. We gave the example of the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Bukhari, where the man asked, what if I find a lost sheep? And he said, there's 3 matters that can happen with the sheep. Either it's for you, for your brother, or for the wolf. So if your brother, if he claims it, then that's for him. Other than that, it's either you can have it or the wolf is going to have it. Better if you have it. Then the man, he asked, what if I find a camel? And he said, leave the camel until its Rabb, its owner, he finds it. The lesson that the ulama, they explain from this hadith is not the wording where Rasulullah said, until his Rabb finds it. What they place emphasis, the main lesson of this hadith, which we didn't mention last time, was that that if you it's the issue to do with the camel and the sheep. That if you find a sheep, you can keep it. Yeah, if someone doesn't claim to it. Yeah, and if it's a camel, then that one you don't claim any responsibility. You don't say this is my camel. He's not finders keepers with the camel. But what we wanted to point out was that Rasulullah said, leave it until its owner, Rabb, its owner, he finds it. So we just want to understand the term Rabb has been associated with the owner of something. Secondly, the leader who's obeyed. We gave the example of the man inside the prison, and he asked Yusuf alayhi salam with regards to interpretation of a dream, and he said, I had a dream about that I was making wine. Another one said, I had a dream with a bird on my head. And he said, as for you, the one who is making the wine, then you're going to feed your Rabb wine, meaning your leader or the one who is obeyed. The third one we said is the one who's in charge of your affairs, or the one who's the caretaker or nourishes them. So that one, for example, we know has been mentioned in the Quran, where Allah has forbidden certain people to who you can't marry. So for example, your stepdaughter, whilst you're married, it's forbidden for you to marry your stepdaughter. Allah says forbidden for you to marry the one who you nourish or you take care of, or your own daughter or your own son. You can't marry them. Yeah. So if we then look to that, then just the third one, we're talking about the one who's in charge of the of affairs, or the caretaker. That has two levels, and this is where we stopped last week. Which is where we're carrying on now from last week. Yeah, in your notes, there's something called the general level and something called the specific level. The general level of Allah taking care or sustaining or nourishing something, and a specific level. Generally, it is known as tarbiyah amma. Yeah, the general level of Allah's caretaking for everything, and every atom we say has a share in that. You and me, we all have a share in that. For example, if there's dust inside your nose, what usually happens? You sneeze. Yeah? That's why you don't say astaghfirullah, you say alhamdulillah. You're giving shukr to Allah. Why? Because your heart, it skips a beat. And the one who can control your heart to stop it from beating can stop it at that very moment. Yeah? So that's why you say alhamdulillah and yarhamukallah, yadhikumullah. Yeah? All to praise Allah. Oh, you're praising Allah, you're thanking Allah, you're saying I'm giving shukr now, alhamdulillah, to the one who allowed that dust then to come out of my nose. Doesn't look very nice, but it has to come out one way or the other. Same thing. For every atom, Allah is control of that. And He sustains that for the Muslim and for the Kafir. So the general caretaking and nourishment, we say in general, is for the Muslim and the non-Muslim. So, for example, Allah causes the wind to blow and He causes the rain to come down. It's for the Muslim as well as the non-Muslim. Like today, I said to the brother in the car, mashallah, the rain is gone. Road looks clear. Meaning literally it looks clear. The earth has been cleansed by Allah sending down the rain. The Kafir doesn't understand that. He says, the rain come down, it spoiled my day. The Muslim, he understands that. The rain come down, it cleansed the earth. It cleans the earth. It's got a purpose. He controls every atom, and the human mind can't even comprehend that. How many atoms they are. If you try to take a scope back and try to look for a vision of your outside of planet Earth, and you look at exactly what's happening, when you look at the movement of the clouds, when you look at the sun, when you look at the moon in its orbit, when you look at the stars and the planets and the sky, sometimes you'll have stars in the sky. If there's no light, for example, if we got no torch or something, what do we do then? What did the people in the past used to do? Yeah? So that's the general maintenance. Then we have the specific one, which is specifically to the Muslims. That means Allah guiding you to the haqq. Guiding you to the haqq. So what we're doing is we're making Allah one. People will say this, and they say the unity of Allah. Making Allah one. Yeah, putting him together, not making no separation from His name, His attribute, and His function. Otherwise, we'll fall into shirk. If I say Allah is the creator, but if I say somebody else is the commander, it'll become shirk. If I say Allah is the one who can give life, but someone else has the power to take life, then that is again association of partners with Allah. So we want to make Allah one in three matters here. From the linguistic meaning of Rabb, He is the sole owner. He's the sole one who's obeyed, and He's the sole one who's in charge of our affairs and the whole of mankind. He's the one in charge of all of our affairs and the whole of mankind. 3. So from all of those linguistic terms, the Sharia term, Sharia meaning is the same. We don't say Allah, oh no, but linguistically it means Allah is the one who's obeyed. So in the Sharia we say He's the one who's disobeyed. No, it's not the case. What's the implications of this? When we make Allah one, we mean the implications of this will be 2. Number 1 is that Allah, He will give us guidance. He will give us guidance, and He cannot leave us without guidance, meaning in the physical affairs. He will guide us in the physical affairs. So for example, if you look to even the child who cannot speak, but Allah has taken care of the child in the physical sense to pick up the bottle and put it inside his mouth. Or to pick up something and put it in their mouth. How like the father is always stopping the child, don't put this in your mouth. And he'll put it down, or he'll carry on doing it. But Allah has given that capability to the Muslim and the non-Muslim. So it says generally, Allah has done that. He's left us, He's given us guidance in the physical sense. Then there's the specific implication of all 3 of these matters, of understanding Allah as the owner and the one who's obeyed, is that Allah will never leave us then just with physical guidance, but He will also give us spiritual guidance. Spiritual guidance meaning guidelines in terms of understanding. Now, what is your purpose in life? What are you doing here? How is your spiritual need fulfilled? For example, a man has a need to socialize. A man has a need to love. A man has the need or has the like to be loved. Yeah? Or emotions. How are they channeled? That's the spiritual needs. That's the implications of understanding then. Where someone is understanding, right, I didn't believe in the Creator, but now I believe in the Creator. Now I believe in someone and I acknowledge and accept that He's my owner, my sustainer, my maintainer. He's going to take care of my physical needs. That's the whole implication of understanding those 3 matters is my eyes are recognizing, right, so there is someone who's in charge of me. Which doesn't take a genius to work out. But when someone's fitrah has been provoked, he's coming from the transition of where he thought there is no purpose in life and there is no God. He doesn't even spare the thought that I need to perhaps find out what is my purpose in life. So he's going forward on a train, but not even knowing where is the destination and why am I on there in the first place? What am I doing with my own self? And then when he stops at that junction, he realizes, right, this is my Creator. I accept Him as my Creator. Then the spiritual fulfillment starts to be fulfilled. That you can call the hidayah. So the first one is maintenance of the physical affairs. Second one is the spiritual needs, meaning the hidayah. Hidayah meaning guidance to the truth of what Allah actually put you on the earth for. Now you accept that, acknowledge that, and then what do you do then? You start to worship Allah. So all of this, what we just mentioned now, is to comprehend 2 divisions of Tawheed. What do we mention now? What's the 3 now? So, for example, without to look at your notes, yeah, what are the 3 that we mentioned, linguistic and Sharia meanings of Rabb? Who can tell me?
The one who manages the affairs.
Right, and
Sole owner.
sole owner, and
Controller of destiny and fate.
no.
One who's obeyed.
Huh? The one who's in charge of all of our affairs, the one who's obeyed, and the one who's the owner. Yeah? The owner, the one who's obeyed, and the one who's in charge of all of our affairs. Yeah? So I know they sound similar, but there needs to be unification of all 3. So the one who's the owner, he owns everything. The one then who is obeyed, and the one then who's in charge of our affairs. No separation between the 2. All 3 need to go together. These 3 give us a scope then to 2 divisions of Tawheed. Yeah. 2 divisions of At-Tawheed, which is Tawheed al-Halq and Tawheed al-Tadbir wal-Tasarruf. Why? What was Tawheed al-Halq? The creator. Yeah? So the creator is also the owner. Yes? And the Tawheed al-Tadbir wal-Tasarruf, the one who controls and manages, is in relation to what? In relation to the second and the third meaning of Rabb, which is the one who's obeyed and the one who's in charge of our affairs. So you get it now. The one who creates is the one who owns everything. It can't be I created you and I don't own you. If I created this phone, and I created it, I made it, I manufactured it, I designed it, I fashioned it, I sustained it, it's mine, unless I gave you authority. Yeah? So Allah Azza wa Jalla didn't share in His attribute or His function of creation with nobody. Allah never said about Himself, I am the creator, and I give someone else the power to be the creator as well. There's nothing like that. He done it Himself, right? Now, same thing, the one who's obeyed. Allah never said you can obey me and obey someone else. He put condition within the Quran. He said, obey Allah, obey the messenger, and those in authority amongst you. But there's condition for the second and the third, if they obey Allah. And the third one being mentioned even further. It said not just the ruler, but the scholars, the ulama and the hukam. They have, if they obey Allah and His messenger and Allah, then you obey them. And we know from the famous narration is that there's no obedience to the creation when there's disobedience to the creator. So this is two now. What that we mentioned, the linguistic meaning of and the implications of understanding the term Rabb leads us to understand that the two divisions of Tawheed Ar-Ruboobiyah, Tawheed Al-Khalq and Tawheed Al-Tadbir wal-Tasarruf, can be then comprehended easily for us. We're laying down the foundation before we enter into the evidences for each one. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go through all of the proofs for Tawheed Al-Khalq today. Next week we're going to go through Tawheed Al-Tadbir wal-Tasarruf. Okay, so what is Tawheed Al-Khalq? Who can remember now?
The absolute exclusive right of Allah to create from nothing.
That's right, good, excellent. His absolute right of being the creator. Now, the proofs for this, we're going to say are two types. We're going to say they are textual proofs, meaning proofs from the Quran and from the Sunnah, and then there's the intellectual proofs. But there's no difference between the two, yeah? The intellectual proofs can be backed up via the Quran and the Sunnah as well. And the intellectual proofs can also be just the common sense, yeah, for example. And we're going to go through them one by one. Let's go through the textual proofs. Where are the proofs in terms of the evidences from the Quran, at least anyway, just from the Quran, that Allah is the creator? And number one is Surah Al-An'am, verse number 2. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, Allah is who created you, O mankind, from clay. Meaning from Adam alayhi salam, He created from clay and then produced His offspring from Adam alayhi salam, and He declared an appointed lifespan. And there is only known to Him another determined time of resurrection, yet you still doubt in the resurrection. We just comprehend the verse now. Allah Azza wa Jalla said He created you, He gave you a lifespan, and only He knows the time between the point of death and resurrection. And then after that Allah then says, and you still doubt that there's going to be a resurrection. When you know that, if you just comprehend that first of all, you don't even know where you came from. Even now, this week now, it's been a miracle within the media. Big miracle that they mentioned in the media. They said, we discovered that the child within the womb, we discovered he can yawn. After how many years of being on earth, you just discovered that the child can yawn within the womb. When Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has already informed us about the facts about the ruh being blown into the womb and the body and how it forms and after how many days, we know this. And even now, obviously, in the recent years, with all of these scans and stuff that the women they go through, they say you have to wait until your 3-month scan until you can determine the sex of the baby. Islam already told us this before. Islam already told us about where everything is already been decided. Forget in the womb. Before the womb, when we came from the loins of Adam alayhi salam, everything has been written inside the divine tablet in regards to where we're going to be born, what color we're going to be, what our rizq is going to be, how we're going to die. Everything has been written. What's going to happen to us until the day of Qiyamah. And the kuffar become fascinated. Wow, we just discovered that the baby, he yawns within the womb. And Allah is saying, He created you, He declared an appointed lifespan, made that appointed lifespan, so you got 40 years, 50 years, and then the determined time of resurrection is only known to Him, but we still doubt. We still doubt the resurrection. So, how this verse it could be used in our own da'wah is that when we speak with someone, you want to come to a common ground with someone when you discuss with him and you say, listen, do you believe in a God, a creator? Because this is what we want to establish first before going to, because this is, for example, an atheist. He doesn't believe in a creator. No, I don't believe we came from nothing. The argument itself is futile. We're going to come to that in the intellectual proofs, how the question in itself is not answerable when someone says, I don't believe in a creator. Because there's only a number of possibilities that could happen. We're going to come to that in a little while. But here you can say, for example, right, so you believe there's nothing going to happen after death. Right. Do you even know what your own lifespan is? No. Can you give me, what's the guarantee that you can give me, or what's the chance of probability that you will last 49 years or 50 years? He just doesn't know. It could be 49 years, it could be 20 years. And he's got, if I say to him, I reckon you're going to die in 30 years. Can you guarantee me that? No, I can't guarantee you that. Then how you can guarantee me that there's going to be no such thing as resurrection then? On such a vital issue of not knowing your own lifespan, you put shak on it. Allah will ask the question then how is it that you even denounce or deny that there's going to be such a thing called resurrection? You still are willing to deny that there's going to be something called a resurrection on Yawm al-Qiyamah. That's the first proof. Second one, Allah said in Surah Al-Araf, Surah Al-Araf, verse number 11, and we created you and we fashioned you. So Allah didn't just create, but then He fashioned us, meaning He made us into unique people. No one here can say they're twins of each other. Unless you came from the same mother, you may be a twin of each other. Yeah? But no one can say, for example, there's definitely somebody who's the twin brother of Yusuf, for example. Unless he's in the Pakistan cricket team. Then it's a different story. Yeah? Then there's someone maybe who looks like him. Okay? The third one is chapter Ar-Rum, verse 20. The third evidence. Just make sure you list them, yeah? So evidence 1, 2, and 3, yeah? Number 3. And amongst His signs is that He created you from clay. Then the offspring of your father, Adam alayhi salam, came the human beings which are scattered upon the earth.
What verse is that?
Verse 20. This is something which should trigger inside someone's mind, or we want to provoke his thought when we're discussing with him that, hold on a minute, he's saying we didn't come from nothing, or there used to be dinosaurs, or some fancy film that you've been watching. Did you ever stop to think that who then was the first man on the earth? There must have been one person on the earth. Where did, for example, there was a big bang, and all of us, we just came into existence like that. If there was a big bang, okay, can you find out from all of your science, because you got all the technology, you got enough power to put a man on the moon, and you got enough technology to send unmanned aircraft into Afghanistan and drop bombs on people's heads, and you can identify them and find out whether he's a terrorist or not, and even from the sky you can tell what his aqidah is. I don't know how you can do that, yeah? But surely you should be able to tell me, when the Big Bang it happened, from that Big Bang, how many were the first group of people on earth? What's the probable chance of a Big Bang happening and man and a woman being made? Because you can't have a baby with two men. So what was the chances of a man and a woman coming there? So all of this, you're provoking him. He's thinking now, what's going on? You're shaking his entire foundation. I don't believe in a creator. No, we're going to prove to you there's a creator. We want to prove to you that there is a creator. Then the fourth evidence is Surah Ar-Rahman, verse 14. Allah created man from dry clay like that of potter. Like that of potter. Again, if the book was made by man, and if the message came from just a man, from his own thinking, then the verse could have said something else. That the bones are made from milk. The bones are made from water. No, Allah said, we created man from dry clay like that of potter. Look to the skeleton. What does it look like? Looks like potter. The bone, if you get it, once the body has decayed, and you get it, and you just literally throw it on the floor, it will shatter. It will break. Like the old woman, her body is most likely, for example, to sprain her ankle, or to bruise herself, or for her joints to go out of place. Why? Because Allah told us that He created man from dry clay like that of potter. How is that just a chance? How is that just some guess that some man in the desert he made? Rasulullah, he couldn't read and he couldn't write. And whatever information the Sahaba, they got it from Rasulullah. The wahi didn't come down to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. It didn't come to Uthman, it didn't come to Muawiyah, it didn't come to those people who compiled the Quran. 1400 years passed and no verse has been ever changed. And there's no contradictions within the Bible. Then how is it that this man within the desert knew, and our sole creator, he could reveal this verse to us and say that our body is made like that of clay and it's made like potter, and still we can prove that today via science itself. Number 5, this is an easy one, Surah Az-Zumar, verse 62. Allah is the creator of everything. Allah is the creator of everything. Surah Az-Zumar, verse 62. So if you think about that now, all right, he's the creator of everything. The Big Bang, did it cause the sun? Did the Big Bang cause the moon? Did the Big Bang cause for us to have 4 seasons every year? Just to comprehend the 4 seasons every year should be enough for you to become a Muslim. Where did the 4 seasons come from? How come we're guaranteed 4 seasons all the time? Right, it might not snow every Christmas for some people, yeah? But there are 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, winter. Maybe there's some regions where you don't get this continuous winter, for example. But how come that is set in a motion and it never ever changes? It never ever changes. You don't hear about in the North Pole that all of a sudden it's become like Ayia Napa and everyone's going there and going to have a big party there. You just don't. Because that's how Allah, the creator and the commander, the sustainer and the manager of all affairs. If you start to explain this to someone that, look, these are the attributes of Allah, this is your da'wah. By using the attributes of da'wah, or attributes of Allah, a'udhu billah, the attributes of Allah is enough for you to make someone a Muslim. Or for him to say, listen, I want to invite you to Islam. What are you inviting to? I'm calling you to Allah. Not just His deen, not just to His sharia, but I'm asking you to accept Allah as your Rabb. Accept Allah as your owner, as your sustainer, as your maintainer, as your caretaker, and the one who's worthy of worship. Because man, by his own fitrah, his own natural instinct, yeah, he is someone who's submissive. He is someone submissive. That's why we say that a child who's left in the desert, he'll grow up as a muwahid. He'll grow up as a Muslim. He might not be necessarily bowing down and sujood and ruku and prostration and doing all of those actions, but he has this, from the fitrah, he has his by his very heart, he recognizes, oh my God. All of the kuffar, they say that, even the one who's at the football match and he says, F him, F him, F him. When it's really, really bad and the football match is losing, he says, oh my God. And he's swearing all in between that, but his fitrah is provoked that, oh my God, how could this possibly happen? So that will happen. We'll discuss the fitrah in a little while. Allah is the creator of everything. So the sun, who created that? Can we make a replica of the sun? Can we make a replica of the moon? We can't. Number 6, and obviously there's many more, but we just want to stick to these. This is chapter Ad-Dariyat, verse 56. Allah said, I did not create the man and the jinn except that they should worship me. So Allah here told us 2 matters. He created mankind and jinn kind, and that they should worship me. Chapter Ad-Dariyat, verse 56. Now, as for the intellectual proofs that Allah is the one who created us, then there's many evidences that we're going to mention here. Okay. First one is, Allah said, beautiful verse in fact. And this is chapter At-Tur. Chapter At-Tur, verse 35. Allah said, were they created by nothing, or did they create themselves? Were they created by nothing, or did they create themselves? Again, it's a verse which we use in the dawah. So someone says, do you believe in a God? Did you ever think about how we ended up here on planet Earth? No, I never really thought about that. I think we just, I don't know, this is the, why do you want to even think about that? All right, no, this is the first thing you should think about. Okay, I've got a phone here. This is made by Nokia. No way, it's made by Apple. I can see it's Apple. How can you say this is made by Nokia? No, I'm telling you it's made by Nokia. Yeah, but it says Apple on it. It doesn't make a difference. Your name is John. Your name is Bob. You're white. You got blue eyes. He's Asian and he's got brown eyes. I'm saying you're telling me you were made by nothing. How can that be the case? Allah said, were they created by nothing? And if he says, no, we were created by nothing, then fine. Then did you create your own self? Did you create your own self? Can anyone say he created himself? No. What you're doing is you're deducing certain facts or certain a certain idea which someone wants to put forward, a certain claim that someone wants to put forward, a certain probability, someone wants to put forward. What is the probability that you and me created our own selves? Zero chance. 0 minus a million and billion and whatever it is. Okay, then if you weren't created them, you created your own self, then there must have been someone who created you. So this is all. So you're not getting out of this one. You're not going nowhere. You surround the person, and that is da'wah and commanding good, forbidding evil. That you're surrounding the person from all sides, and you're telling me that we created by nothing. No, you're not leaving until you prove to me where we were created from. That's enough as a 1 hour conversation with someone, for example, on a dawah stall. And then the second intellectual proof is, it is almost really linked to the first one, chapter At-Tur, is in fact a hadith which we can use, okay? So with the intellectual proofs, for example, there might be certain verses we'll mention in hadith and there might not be. Is hadith in Bukhari, hadith number 377. And this is Jubair ibn Mut'im. He said, I was a mushrik at that time when I met Rasulullah. And he was reciting that verse which we just mentioned, Surah At-Tur. Were they created by nothing, or were they created themselves? Look to what he said. To see the profound effect of the verse. He said, when I heard this, my heart, it almost flew, and this was when Iman was first settled inside my own heart. When he heard that verse, he said, my heart, it was like my heart, it almost flew out of my chest, and I had to accept Islam. This is when someone doesn't have the various distractions around him. You're saying, listen, I know you got a job, I know you got this and that to go to. Stop for a minute. Forget everything else. Let's just answer this one question. If you can answer this one question, then you've disproved the Quran. I'll accept whatever you believe. Were they created by nothing, or did they create themselves? Can anyone get out of that question? You just can't. The scientist, the most knowledgeable person, saying, right, you might not know. Fine, I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm not here to humiliate you. But from what you understand, you say you're an atheist, you say you're perhaps an agnostic or an atheist, whatever it is, you carry this belief. And I'm sure whatever you believe in with conviction, then you're willing to propagate this to people as well. How can you claim that you have a belief, but it's not an unshakable belief? It means you got a belief which is shakeable. When you start to say, and you're trying to tell me I'm wrong, and you're trying to tell me this is some Arab religion, or this is some nonsense, mumbo jumbo religion, stories of the fairy tales of the past, can't be the case. Third evidence, that man, he didn't create himself, nor did his father, nor the person before that. So I didn't create myself, and obviously we already said that, and I didn't create myself, and we weren't created by nothing. But the third one we're saying now is, man did not create himself, neither did his father, nor the person before that. So this is an intellectual proof, saying, look, you didn't create yourself. Did your father create you? I say, yeah, of course my father, he created me. Yeah, he had relationship with my mom. Or no. Not talking about your mother here now. Just your dad. Your dad on his own, did he give birth to you? No. Even if your dad could give birth, did he create you? If we understand the function of creating, meaning bringing about something from nothing, like the way Allah Azza wa Jal, he created us from the back of Adam alayhi salam. In this one we have evidence, which is chapter Az-Zumar, chapter 39, verse 62. Allah is the creator of all things, as well as chapter As-Saffat, which is chapter 37, verse 96. So 39, verse 62, and chapter 37, verse 96. Man did not create himself, neither did his father nor the person before that. Obviously the verses aren't explicitly mentioning about the father, but Allah is saying that he's a creator of everything. Okay. Number 4, and if someone has a Quran, they can look this up because I don't have what's written here. It's chapter Anfal, verse 17. So if someone could read out the verse, that would be helpful for us. Chapter 8, verse 17.
Yeah. You killed them not, but Allah killed them, and you, Prophet ﷺ, threw not when you did throw, but Allah threw, that he might test the believers by a fair trial from him. Verily Allah is all hearer or knower.
Okay, the verse is talking about Battle of Badr, where the Sahaba, they were throwing dust Rasulullah threw dust, and then Allah said, it wasn't you that threw, and it was I that threw, and it wasn't you that killed the people. In fact, I was the one who killed the people. An intellectual proof in itself that there could be causes of death, which Allah is the sole one responsible for, which no one has that capability within their own hand. So in that battle, for example, the Sahaba, they were backed up by 1,000 malaika, and one Muslim, he came to Rasulullah and he said, when I found one mushrik on the floor, I found he had green whip marks on his face, or green and blue whip marks on his face, and it wasn't me. He goes, I only had a sword. Rasulullah, he said, indeed you spoke the truth. That was the Jundallah, the malaika that came and they assisted the muwahideen in that particular battle. And the same thing will happen today. For example, there's miracles in jihad in Bosnia. There's been miracles in Afghanistan, miracles inside Iraq, Palestine. The plane is spiraling out of control and they've got all of the technology. Who's causing all of that? Allah Azza wa Jal. Yeah? Okay, number 5 is He's the sustainer of all things, which we can say for this one. It's an intellectual proof. He's a sustainer of all things. And we say the evidence for this is in chapter Al-Hud, chapter 11, verse 6. This is a beautiful verse. In fact, there is no living creature on the earth, but his provision is due from Allah. There is no living creature on earth, but his provision is due from Allah. An intellectual proof, how? We can say, for example, listen, you're talking about world famine and geopolitics and how people are starving and where people are going to get their next bread meal from. Who is the one who makes sure that even the ants, they don't go by without to have their own sustenance? Or the bird, which is being used as an example. Don't you see the bird who leaves in the morning with his belly empty and it comes back full? Who is the one who is providing the sustenance for every living creature? Have we heard, for example, the elephants or the donkeys or the camels or anything else being wiped out in its entirety because of a famine or because of a lack of produce? Meaning Allah Azza wa Jal, He sends down the rain. Even for example, now look, we're used to what? Kebab, biryani, all cooked food or prepared food. But now let's say, for example, all of that shut down. If there's, for example, a crisis in petrol now, petrol station shuts down, everybody, they're stuck, they're immobilized, they can't move. But if all of that cooked food or prepared food is removed from us, then in our garden, you and me, we both know we won't starve. Why? Because it will rain eventually, sunlight will come, and it will cause the tomato and the carrot to grow. He's a sustainer of everything. That is an intellectual proof to prove that there is a creator, there is a sustainer, and therefore there must be someone who's worthy of worship then. Or this must lead on to declaring that this one must be the one who's worthy of worship. That he is the sole sustainer. That he's the sole sustainer and he gives the provision to the whole of the earth. The North Sea, the Salty Sea, the South Sea, the Indian Ocean. Do we find that they're complaining? Oh, we haven't got enough water there. Nope, doesn't happen. Do we, even for example, if there's a big fire now, for example, yeah? And there's firefighters there with water, but who's the one who sent down the water to begin with to put inside that fire engine? Who is the one who can send down the wind to make sure that black smoke it or move away? Where is that sustenance coming from? In everything, through the intellect, that you can prove that there is a creator. There is there is someone who is a sustainer. Even for example now, we didn't have a ladder now. And we got an apple tree and all the supermarkets are shut down and we can't get there. Who is the one who can send down the wind when he chooses and how he chooses for the tree to shake and for the apples to fall down? Yeah? Or what? The changing of the seasons now. If we consider that now, the changing of the seasons causes the leaves to turn brown. But who's the one who causes the leaves then to fall from the tree? What if they don't fall from the tree then? And they just stay brown. They're never going to fall. All right, if they don't fall, then how the new one's going to come about? You understand now? Now, for example, now, if we just look to the population of mankind, Allah Azza wa Jal, and look to His wisdom, Allah Azza wa Jal, that He's created us, and He gives us life, then takes our life, and then we're buried inside the qabr, inside the grave. Right? then inside the grave, what happens to our body? It starts to deteriorate. Let's say, for example, our bodies did not deteriorate. Before the time when man even knew something called janazah, before the time of Islam where people used to have janazah, where our population is massive right now as it is, and people are saying in China you can only have one child, you can't have more than two. But what about in the past where people used to have 20 children, 30 children? There was no such thing as contraception. When their children grew up, become adults, and they died, and they weren't buried, and if their bodies just remain as they are, the body did not compose, the bones did not decompose, we wouldn't have any room to walk on the earth. Let alone for us to bring about new human beings. It could be, for example, the Prime Minister 10,000 years ago could have said, hold on a minute, we've got a population control issue here. We're not talking about people, how we're going to feed them when we're born, where they're going to move about the earth, because we've got all these dead bodies scattered around us. Then look to the function then of the mosquito or the fly, which then comes to the dead body once it's out for even for 1 hour. For 1 hour, if the body is left outside, the mosquito will come and start to feed on the body, start to feed from the skin, from the tissues. There is an intellectual proof that this is the wisdom of Allah Azza wa Jal for creating us. Number 6 is the issue that every cause has an effect. Every cause has an effect. Meaning those who deny that there is a creator, they got no argument at all. They got no argument at all, because for every effect to exist, it must have a cause. It must have a cause. So the effect is in life, you and me, we're here. But there was a cause for us to come about. A cause, not meaning purpose of life, a cause meaning that there must have been something which happened, which is our mother and father met each other, married each other, had relationship, and then we came about. And as Allah Azza wa Jalla says inside the Quran, again, another proof, which is not really in my notes, but that Allah Azza wa Jalla said that some people, they will have only boys as children. Some people, they'll only have children, and some people, some women, he'll leave them barren. They just won't have any children at all. How did Allah know that? Who knows that then? Who else can determine that fact? Who can, without any scan, without any medical assessment for a woman, who can say to a woman, I believe that you will never ever have children? Or you will only have boys? Who knows that? If, for example, my wife is pregnant now, or your wife is pregnant now, and she's been 2 weeks pregnant without any hospital scan, even with hospital scan, you still don't know what the sex is of the boy. And even if you go to the hospital, when you have that 3-month scan or 6-month scan, even then, without the X-ray machine, they still can't just tell by feeling the body or just by doing a blood test whether you got a boy or whether you got a girl within the womb. This technology is new. It's just come about, 2D technology and 3D technology. It's only the 3D technology, or maybe 4D technology, maybe they got that now, but 3D technology, they started showing pictures how the child, where you can actually see, the actual shape of the lips and the gums, where it starts to smile or rolling over. I remember when I saw my son, in the hospital on the scan, he was doing somersaults upside down, spinning on his head and kicking and all this type of stuff. He's still kicking and jumping around on his head and stuff like that, yeah? But without the scan, how would we know that? How would we know that? So for every effect to exist, it must have a cause. And the proof for this is chapter At-Tur, chapter 52, verse 35 to 36. Again, it's the same evidence which we mentioned before. Were they created by nothing, or were they themselves the creators? So we can come from another angle now. The sixth evidence is coming from another angle in our debate with someone and saying, look, were you the creator? Were you the creator, or were you created from nothing? That baby within the womb. I remember one sister, she was in Trafalgar Square, and she was talking about how she became a Muslimah. And she said, I took my shahada when I had my child. She was a Christian woman. She said, when I looked to my baby, when it came out from the womb, and the nurse, the midwife, she gave me my child, I knew that this couldn't have happened just by chance. I knew this was a miracle in itself. You can see that in the child. If you look to the child, look how it's born perfect. How Allah He wishes. 2 eyes, is crying, It's not crying, maybe it's got 2 legs, 2 arms, 2 feet. All of that is it's a baby. It's a baby. It's a miracle in itself. Yeah? And when Allah Azza wa Jalla says, were they created by nothing or were they themselves the creators? It's a question which Allah Azza wa Jalla is putting, but He negates the answer. He negates the answer. Okay, if someone says now, for example, yeah, that were they themselves the creators, and someone says, yeah, we were. I created my own self. Yeah, the answer has to be restricted to Allah being the creator. Why? Because if He says, I created my own self, right? Hold on a minute now. Not talking about anybody else, just you, your own self, with your beard, with your hat, with your nose, with your eyes, looking the way you look, then surely you can make someone identical to yourself. Allah Azza wa Jalla, what He's saying inside this verse, He said, were they created by nothing or were they themselves the creator? He's restricting the answer to only being Allah Azza wa Jalla. There is no chance or probability for you to take an answer to anything else. Why? Because the answer is within the question itself. The question doesn't leave any opportunity to arise for someone to come with any smart aleck answer. Were you yourself the creator? Let me think about it. What's there to think about? Let me give you 3 examples in relation to this verse, just to prove that that this question is restricted by the answer that Allah is the creator. If I ask you a question now, I will ask Abdullah the question. A cat, can it speak German or Chinese? What will you say? No, it can't. If he said now, for example, I'm not too sure, I think it speaks Russian. Do you see what I'm saying now? Is the question itself, yeah, is denounced by any other answer apart from saying no. No, it can't. There's no chance of it. Even if he said, let me think about it, or let me do research about it. Why? Because the information he already has, he already knows, Abdullah, that a cat can't speak. What kind of question is that? Can a cat speak German or Chinese? And then someone else puts his hand up, now I've got a difference of opinion with him. I think it speaks Italian. How can that make sense? It doesn't make any sense. All right, let me give another example. If I said that this phone came about with no designer, no labor, no technician, and no prototype, would you accept that? No, you can't. Why? Because the question in itself, it only has one answer. It was a manufacturer, and I can't really see it from here. I'll find out who the manufacturer was. So, what do we say? We say the answer to understanding who is the creator is restricted by the answer which Allah gave Himself. Allah said that were they created by themselves or were they the creators? You're finished. You can't say we were created from nothing. That doesn't work. And you can't say you yourself was the creator. What's the possible? Where do you have to go now? What do you have to announce now? You understand the reality of something. You understand the announcement of something. Now you must understand your feeling in relation to that. Is that Allah is the sole creator? If I say now, a third example now we can give in relation to this, we can use this in our da'wah. Abu Turab, he punches Shakil in the back. Yeah? And when Shakil asked Abu Turab, who punched me in the back? Abu Turab, he said, no one. Would you believe him? Would you believe it? But he's a trustworthy brother though. He's not fasik. He's a good brother, mashallah. Yeah? But you will lead, you're saying, no way. You'll call up the police, you do an investigation, you check the CCTV camera. Who was it that punched me? Afterwards, you find out it was Abu Salih who punched you. Yeah? There must be, for every effect, there must be a cause. So the effect was you got punched in the back. There was a cause. Abu Tarabi punched you. It wasn't Abu Salih in the first place. He lied to you. Yeah? So there is only one creator. Allah is the creator. Further evidences from the Quran. And this is, I'll just mention the verses very quickly and just write down the references for this. I think you understand my point now. Is chapter Luqman 31 verse 11. Chapter 31 verse 11. Also chapter Ar-Rad, chapter 13 verse 16. Also chapter Al-Hajj, which is chapter 22 verse 73. Chapter An-Nahl, chapter 16, verse 20. And also, same surah again, chapter An-Nahl, verse 17. Okay. Do we accept now Allah as the creator? Is there any chance of us going out of this argument? Saying, no, there might be another creator. No, there could be a Big Bang. We're not even entertaining that type of discussion. That there was Big Bang theory or we came about from nothing. No, there's even the probability of the Big Bang to happen and us coming up about it from the Big Bang is nothing at all. What's the chances now, for example, of me flipping a coin and it being heads out of tails? There's 50% chance, right? What if I was to get that coin and flick it 10 times? What are the chances of that coin landing on his head, not his tails, 10 times? Whatever the number is, I don't know. It's some massive, complicated mathematician answer which you do your own head in. You'll end up with a migraine. You'll just end up leaving the halakha, to be honest. You won't ever come back again. So if someone then says, okay, I believe that there is a creator, but hold on a minute. I believe that there are two creators. Whoa, we never thought about that one now. How do we then get out of that argument? Allah Azza wa Jalla said, chapter Al-Mu'minun, chapter 23, verse 91. There is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. There is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. Surah Al-Mu'minun, chapter 23, verse 91. So Allah Azza wa Jalla negating and affirming that there, first of all, there's no one worthy of worship, and secondly, he's affirming that he is the sole one who's worthy of worship. Al-ifradu lahi bil-ibadah. Unity, Allah Azza wa Jalla, wahid, one. We're making Allah Azza wa Jalla one. One in his creation, one in the worthy, in him being worthy of worship. And then he said, and if there was, meaning two creators, each one would have taken whatever he himself has created and would try to overcome one another. If there was two creators and he said, I created all of the men and I created all of the women, one would try to overpower one another. That's what the verse it said. Three matters we can conclude or deduce from this particular verse would have occurred if there were two creators. Number one would try to overpower the other creator. Has that happened? I haven't seen it. I have not seen it. One would overpower the other creator. Secondly, one would have command over his dominion or the creation. He would have command over that. Yeah, so one would overpower the other creator. So one would have authority and power over the other creator. There's two creators, yeah? And one would overpower the other creator. Or secondly, the second implication would be one would overpower his own, the other creator's creation. So say, listen, step aside, I'm taking over your creation now. Or the third one, and this is the most likely answer, is the one who is the real ruler would be in charge. And that is the reality. But first of all, we understand Allah has already answered. There is no creator except him. There is no one who is worthy of worship except him. He never even informed us of two. You can't even prove to me that who is the creator besides Allah. How are you going to prove to me that there's two creators? No one can get out of that argument. Okay. What now if someone says that there's no creator or God at all? For example, we're looking at this from another angle now. If someone says that there's no creator and there's no God at all, first of all, let's look at it like this. If we give the example of a car, okay? When you see a car, it must have a driver or it must have a pilot. Number one. Okay, if you write these all down point by point, number one, number two, number three, number four, like that, yeah? Number one, if someone says there's no creator or God at all, we say, number one, if you see a car or a pilot, you must affirm that it must have a driver or a pilot. Secondly, if there was no driver or pilot within that car, then the car would not be driving properly on the road. It wouldn't be able to avoid any diversions. Neither would it be able to adapt to particular weather conditions or flight patterns or air traffic control. If now, for example, I just stop there for a moment now. What was the first one? We said first one, if there's a car, it must have a driver. Secondly, if there was no driver, then the car would go any other direction. If I said to you now, all of the cars on this road that are driving don't have any drivers, what would you say? Mad. Go lock this person up, South London Hospital, they got a spare bed there, go and put him inside within there. You would never say that. How then you can say that there's no creator and no God, the one who's controlling everything? Let's just stick to the point though of the example of the car. We say thirdly, as a result of this, as a result of understanding that the car has a driver or the plane has a pilot, Allah is the one who manages and maintains the universe, the sun, the moon, the stars and the planet. As a result of understanding that the car and the plane has a pilot, Allah is the one who governs, manages and maintains the whole of the universe, meaning the sun, the moon and the stars and the planets. If I said to you now, for example, do you fancy the sun coming out tomorrow? I can make it change. You're going to say, who the hell do you think you are? Well, what power you got all of a sudden? No, it's all right. I've got some new PlayStation 3 game. I got a hack. Anonymous, the group Anonymous, they managed to figure out how the sun is controlled and they can control it. Can they do that? They can't. So just by the movement then of the sun and the planets and the moon, you can understand there must be a creator. Fourth point, if someone says there's no God at all. If Allah did not exist, or if there was not a God, then the sun, the moon and the planets, they would not be synchronized and they would move in an irregular pattern. They would move in an irregular pattern. The sun, for example, it could be completely shaking. Yeah? The sun could be going backwards and forwards like that, as it pleases. Or it could just fall out of the sky due to its own weakness. The attribute of the sun, or the function of the sun, is to create two matters: heat and light. Who is the one who is maintaining the sun to give us sunlight? If no one is maintaining that, then the light, it can just go out like that. And it's never going to come back again. Has any scientist given any prediction that we estimate by so-and-so year, we're not going to have any sun? Foolish idiots were telling us in 1999 that the world's going to end on the 31st of December. And people in America, they were going inside bunkers. The millennium scare, millennium bug, they're worried that the computer can't handle it. What's going to happen now? What we got now? We've got Windows 8 and Mac OS 10.8, whatever it is. We've got smartphones. Who would have thought, like 10 years ago, we'd have phones that, you could literally, you speak into. That you just, like literally, you speak, you say like, call, Abdullah, and it calls. Or we'd have a color screen. Never. Back in the day, it used to be Snake, on the Nokia phone, like in the school you're playing on a Nokia Snake game. Technology advances, yes, but the one who's in control of the minerals and the sky and the sun is Allah Azza wa Jal. If the sun, for example, if it moved slightly, not only will we not have any light, but we can say that certain animals, they will become extinct, or we ourselves would die out of cold. Because we rely upon the heat. Where would our vegetation go? Who is the one who's maintaining the sun? Who is the one who's allowing the sun to exist, for the sun to function? Allah Azza wa Jalla said, and this is still on point number 4. This is again, we're still going back to Surah At-Tur, chapter 52, verse 36. Were they created by nothing, or were they the creators themselves? And then Allah Azza wa Jalla said, or did they create the heavens and the earth? Did they create the heavens and the earth? Then Allah Azza wa Jalla said, rather they're not certain. They're not certain. They have no firm conviction and no firm, solid, straight reply to this question. Were they created by nothing? Were they the creators? Or did they create the heavens and the earth? So if someone says now, I do believe in Allah, and I believe He is my creator, but I don't believe He created the whole of the earth, then did you create that then? Did you create that then? The vegetation, the Big Bang, if someone says the Big Bang happened and it caused man to appear, you're telling me that Big Bang, it caused the sun to stay in its orbit, it caused the moon to appear, the stars in the sky, the wind, 4 seasons, the earth, the sea, the different types of animals, everything being created into pairs. All of this has been mentioned in the Quran. The function of the own human body. For example, you've got something called earwax. Nasty thing, but we got it. Imagine if that earwax wasn't there. What's the purpose of the earwax? To clean the ears, to block certain things from entering inside the ears. For example, the dust or the hairs within your own nose. What's that there for? If there was no hairs within, if anybody's ever had this accident where you trim your mustache and the machine goes up your nose, yeah, and you end up trimming a couple of hairs, you start sneezing, you know that? Is that if that's ever happened to you? Or when your mustache hair goes up your nose, yeah, well, you start sneezing, innit? Like, or you notice there's one hair sticking out of your nose. So you think, you know what, I'm going to cut that one off, yeah? All right, you do it successfully. There's no blood. There's no need for amputation. There's no need for an emergency, yeah? And you manage to get it. But what happens is you manage to end up cutting a few more. So you think to yourself, oh my God, this looks a bit out of place. One side looks a bit bald and the other side looks a bit hairy. So let me cut that one as well. You end up with the flu. I guarantee you end up with the flu. You end up sneezing. You'll be like, you end up feeling cold. The fact that Allah He gave you hair. Some of us got more hair than others anyway inside the room, yeah? Allah gave us hair. For example, imagine if we were born with no hair ever. How are we going to stay warm? Or Allah He put hair on your legs. I don't know if, hopefully no brothers ever shaved their legs. But if you've ever shaved your legs, you know it don't feel right, man. It feels cold. It's unnatural for a man to be shaving his legs or plucking his eyebrows and shaping his eyebrows. Some people do that anyway to make money. But, you know what I mean? You know? So, number 5 is, if someone says there's no creator, we say, look, you can recognize Allah and His attributes through His creation. Through His creation. Now, let's make the analogy. We'll go back to the car. And we can say, A. How you can recognize Allah and His attributes through His creation. If you look to the car, we say A. The steel of the car proves the manufacturer possesses the steel and is capable of shaping it and reshaping it. Okay? When you look to the car and the steel of the car, you can't tell me that the manufacturer, whoever created that car, doesn't possess the steel. The steel of the car proves that whoever manufactured the car, he owns that steel and that metal. If I say now, Honda, he makes cars. MashaAllah. Abu Honda, he makes cars, but he doesn't possess no steel. So who's making it for him? No one. He just, clicks his fingers and the steel just drops out of the sky and it shapes itself. You wouldn't accept that. B. The glass in the car. The glass in the car, it proves the manufacturer possesses the glass and is able to shape it for lights and windows. We're just talking about 2 matters here. Steel and windows. What about us? Blood and skin and bones. Who possesses the ability to create that? Allah. C. The manufacturer of that car. He possesses the wires for conducting the electricity. By now you should just stop and say, hold on a minute, I accept what you're telling me, that there must be a creator. I accept that there must be Allah. There is something called Allah and He's the one who created everything. Fourthly, D. That the one who made the car, he surely must be skilled in manufacturing all of the parts of that car. He must possess those very skills. Can anyone say, I'm going to go make a car? Go to advice from the head of Mercedes. What are you talking about, Aki? That man is jahil. What the hell does he know about making cars? No, he's not. Man's got a PhD in how to make cars. He knows making cars. If you ask me how to make a car, I don't know how to make a car. You're asking the wrong person. Yeah? So the one who made the car, he must be skilled in manufacturing that car. E. He has the engineering expertise to make that car, which is evidence in the entire structure of the car, which is unique to him. He's got the engineering expertise, which is evident in the actual structure of that car, which you know is unique to him. Yeah? Whatever engineering expertise, the engineering expertise is evidence in the entire structure of the car, which is unique to him. The engineering expertise, you know that it must exist to the one who's making that particular car, which is evidence. How do you know he's got that engineering expertise? Put it another way, is that the evidence is the car. So if I say now, if you look, you want a reference now, yeah? Prove to me that, for example, Abu Waleed, for example, can, I don't know, give a talk. And this man, he doesn't know how to give talks. Why? He doesn't speak English. You got proof. What's that proof? You go check it on YouTube. I speak English very well. You can go check it out. Likewise, with the car, you say that the engineering expertise is evidence in itself via the structure of the car, the making of the car, that the one who made that car, he has expertise, which is unique to him. So if someone says now, Allah can't be the creator. Why can't he be the creator? You yourself, you're proof that he has the expertise for him to be that creator. Do you understand? You get it? Okay, good. F is that he has knowledge to manufacture the same car again from a prototype. The man who made that car, he has that knowledge to manufacture the same car from a prototype. So no one can say, I made this car by fluke. Fair enough, maybe you did. By, whatever ideas that came to your mind at the time, I'm sure you wrote down a blueprint for them, and that's your prototype of a car. You can make it again. When a company says, for example, this is a one-off, what does he mean by that? Does he mean that he can't make that again? He doesn't mean that. He means he can make it again, he just chose not to. So, the knowledge to manufacture the same car can happen via the prototype. Now, why I mention all of this now? If we forget the car now, just put the car on hold now. Consider everything about the car and try to comprehend. Allah Azza wa Jal will lead you to accept the following points. Okay? In relation to the car. You can use this in your dawah. A. The wisdom behind every animal and creation justifies that this must be the work of Allah. The wisdom behind every creation justifies it must be the work of Allah. For example, the ants. If you got a spillage of sugar in your house, yeah, go and get a bunch of ants, put them on the floor, they'll get rid of your sugar for you. Or for example, waste sites, for example, where you got an excess amount of waste food. Before we had, for example, landslides and where people would cover it up with soil, or before even, example, before we had vacuum cleaners. These are things we take for granted anyway, yeah? But did you ever stop to think, what did man used to do before you had a vacuum cleaner? Leave your house unattended for 10 days. Come back, you'll find dust within there. When the sun comes and the sun leaves, you can see the particles within the air, they start to float and they start to settle on the table. And that's why you rub it off. Or when you leave your phone within the car. Even right now, I've got dust on here because of that light there. It's been coming there, and the heat is coming, and obviously the air is pushing the particles within around us. So with all of the animal and all the creation, when you look to it, it justifies that this must be the work of Allah Azza wa Jal. And you can think about that through many different things. Many different things. When you look at, for example, the sheep. The sheep. What did people do before lawnmowers? We'd be living in the jungle right now. We wouldn't be, this halakha will be happening amongst grass. I would be covered in grass. I'll probably have a face of grass. Yeah? I'll be like, yeah, Ruboobeeyah, like that. No. So, the wisdom behind every animal and creation, Allah's own wisdom behind creating that, it justifies that this must be the work of Allah. B. The expertise. The expertise can only be attributed to the divine Rabb. The expertise can only be attributed to the divine Rabb. And for that example, we can say, look to the land. Look to the land. The expertise of Allah to make land and to make sea. What if, for example, the Big Bang happened, the supposed Big Bang happened, and there was no such thing as land? Then where would we be living? Were we all going to swim? How long can a man survive in water for? Surely this should lead you to understand that Allah is the one who is the creator. C, the might of the creation justifies is the work of the Rabb. The might, meaning the power of that particular type of work. If you've ever watched a documentary like on the BBC or something, where they show mountains and sea, you know, when you see the ocean and how big it is, I'm sure you must have got scared at one point that what if I was ended up in that ocean? How the hell would I swim? You know, when you go swimming, yeah, hopefully we can go swimming today anyway, but when you go swimming, you got that part where you feel confident, I can handle this one, you know, it's up to my chin, I can swim. Then you got the deep end, it's when if you're a very bad swimmer, you know you can't handle it. So what if we got the ocean, the might of it? When you look at it, it must show you that there must be a creator. If you look to the mountains, can anyone bring two mountains which are identical, with all of its cracks, with the color from one rock to another, with the shape of it? You can't. So that we say the might of the creation justifies is the work of the Rabb, of the owner, of the creator, of the maintainer, of the manager, of the sustainer, the mountains, the sea. Then D, we say the beautiful form of the creation justifies is the work of the Rabb. The beautiful form of the creation. Look, for example, now everybody's getting hyped up right now. Everyone's getting excited. Oh my God, it's a retina display. It's a high definition. An optician came along and said, look, before you go to high definition TV, make sure you got high definition eyes. Meaning if you've got something wrong with your eyesight, come to us and we'll fix up your vision. Meaning look at the beauty of the creation. How beautiful it is. Roses, there's different colored flowers, there's peacocks, there's ostriches, different types of birds. You look to even the form of the creation or the might of the creation. If we go back now and give another example, you can use this as an example for the might of the creation and the beautiful form of the creation is the bird. Is the bird. Look to the bird and how it is. There's one bird I saw yesterday early in the morning. It's not even a pigeon. It looks like a dove almost. It's just it looks like an egg. It looks like an egg with two feathers on it. And it literally doesn't make any effort when it flies away. Hardly any time, any effort it has to make to flap its own wings. It just goes like that. It just goes boom like that and it takes off. How many men can do that? How many men can do that? How many batteries you need to do that? How many engines you need to do that? How much horsepower without any horses? They call it horsepower. They even have to call it horsepower. You see it through the documentaries, the history of flight. I remember we watched this in my primary school. The history of flight. They show a man, he gets feathers, he ties it to his arms. He tries to jump off a mountain. He falls. Another one, what he does is he gets paper, he ties it to his arms, and then he runs fast enough. And he thinks, if I run fast enough, with the wind, I'll be able to take off. You think he can go to Pakistan? How do we all end up here? We all end up here via the boat, banana boat, or we ended up via the banana plane. Yeah? But the bird, if you look to that, it justifies the work and the beautiful nature of the birds as well. What's the flight control for the birds? When the bird, it goes in the sky. What if the bird, it runs out of steam? What if it gets tired, for example? No problem, I land. The bird, if you look to it, the birds, how do they even communicate with one another? How does the bird even know that there's someone walking up behind him? Or the bird, forget the bird, the rat. I don't like rats anyway, yeah? When a rat is there, try and catch a rat. Before even you're just walking past, you got no intention of capturing that rat. You don't even know there's a rat there, and you hear the movement of the rat. The rat is running away. It already knows that there's someone walking on the pavement, run away. That is the power and the might which should justify to you that Allah, He's the creator. Allah, He's the creator. All right, a man, he says, and this is not me, a man says, my best friend is my dog. Yeah, he's not talking about his wife. Yeah, he's talking about my best friend is a dog. Yeah, and he says, Arthur, fetch. Arthur runs, goes, grabs a newspaper and comes back. Can the dog turn around and say to John, say, hey, is that the right one? I mean, do you want me to go get the mail now as well? Which one you fancy? I'm sorry, it's a junk mail. There's nothing there. It can't. How is man able to communicate with the dog? And the dog understands it. How does the dog understand it? Or the dog is not trained quite yet. Or he whistles and he said, dinner's ready. How do they understand that? How do they understand that? Okay. What was that? Which letter was that? D, yeah? E. E, the guidance in all his creatures justifies is the work of the Rabb. The guidance in the creation. So Allah has guided, we're talking physically now by the way, yeah? The physical guidance in the creation justifies is the work of the Rabb. So we can say, by way of example, that Allah Azza wa Jal physically has enabled us to think and speak and have emotions. And for certain things, He hasn't. Imagine now, you got a sheep and you go to slaughter it. And the sheep turns around and says, what do you think you're doing? Taqillah, fi Allah. Yeah, you're like, sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. Yeah, I got 4 legs, you got 2. You want to take it outside? Let's go outside the barn. And he starts to beat you up. What if the sheep, it spoke? What if the ants, they spoke back to you? Say, we're here. We're not going nowhere. It's jihad now. We're taking over this land. Get the hell out of this house. Who you think you are? This is our place now. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. So the guidance in the creation, that Allah has guided certain animals to be the way they are. The sheep, it accepts it. Even by the sunnah. When you slaughtered the sheep, the sunnah is not for when you're slaughtering one sheep, that first sheep or the next sheep that you're about to slaughter is not allowed for that second sheep to be able to see his brother being slaughtered. Why? Because it gets nervous. Why? How, in fact? How is that possible? I know it happened with me. I went to go and slaughter one sheep and we put a cardboard or piece of wood behind the other goat or the other sheep. Somehow this one was a bit of a fast one. He managed to push and shove and managed to look. Once he started to look, yeah, we started to look at him. We looked down below, the sheep started wetting himself. He started weeing himself. Yeah, because he got so nervous. Now, why didn't the sheep think to his own self and say, yeah, fair enough, he's getting slaughtered, he's getting shanked up here, but I'm all right. At least I'm okay. I think I'll get off. Where did that sheep be able to figure out and come to his own conclusion and understand that, look, he's going down, I'm going next? Why did he get nervous? Why then is that from the sunnah then? Because Allah Azza wa Jal has guided the creation, certain capability and certain creation to understand certain things within its own self. And certain things they're not able to have that particular faculty. The way the ants, the way they run away. The way, for example, guidance which Allah Azza wa Jal has created within your own self by way of fear. If, for example, now, I hang you by one leg off the top of a building, are you going to laugh your head off? Are you going to say, it's quite good, we should do this again? Unless you're like somebody mad and suicidal. But you're going to be like, what the hell do you think you're doing, man? I'm going to kill you, I am. I'm going to kill you, I am. Get the hell, put me back over there. Or your own instinct, I don't want to use the word instinct, but the own guidance which Allah has put within you. For example, if there's a fire and your hand comes near it, you go like that. No one just goes like that and says, oh, look at that, it's burning. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Allah created that within you. The fear and also the harm which comes within that. If, for example, when you put your finger in the fire and it burns, it hurts. What if Allah took away that attribute or took away that guidance for you to feel pain? Then what would happen? We'll be finished a long time ago. We'll go bang our head against the wall and we won't even feel it. We'll be like, why can't I get past that wall? Let me just keep on banging it. You know, that's not the way to get past the wall. Walk around it. Allah made that guidance within you to know that. Like someone says, for example, yeah, I asked someone once, I said, how would you describe learning how to drive a car? He goes, you know, the best way to describe how to learning how to drive a car is learning to walk. Like once upon a time, you didn't know how to walk. But it becomes like second nature. First gear, second gear, gear, clutch, boom, 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 stop, start, slow down. It becomes like a second nature to you. You know, like that's why some brothers, they can drive with one hand, but they're not confident enough. Some brothers have to drive with two hands. Some brothers, they don't just drive like that. They'll be like just putting the foot down and just like, yeah, like that. Yeah, and then they'll stop here and there. So the guidance in the creation. F is the systems of protection which Allah, He creates in ourselves. It justifies, inshallah. You need to go?
Yeah.
Okay, we're not finished. We're still a little while yet. Yeah, inshallah. Okay, you need to go, yeah? Inshallah. Okay, salam alaikum, yeah? The systems of protection which Allah, He created, justifies is the work of the Rabb. The systems of protection which Allah, He creates, justifies is the work of the Rabb. We mentioned already the hair and the nose, but let's look to another one, for example. Taste. It's a system of protection. If, for example, now a brother is a brother says, I want biryani. Oh, I'm gonna have biryani. Okay, all right. And I put broken glass inside your own biryani. Yeah, and you put that in your own mouth. That is a system of protection by what? Taste of the tongue. The taste of the tongue will say, what's that? You spit it out. What if there's no taste? Taste, what do you associate it with? Enjoyment. But taste is also there, has another function. Why? The function of the taste is also to protect you from any harm. To protect you from something which is distasteful, which you know, not only is it not something which tastes nice, but I know this thing is going to harm my own body. How many people, for example, eat fire? They don't. Unless it's Encona chili sauce. That one's like fire. Yeah? But some people enjoy chili, some people don't enjoy chili. Allah, He made that taste. Or for example, Allah Azza wa Jal, He's made a form of protection in your own self. He's given you something called the eyelash. You can call it the mustache of the eye. Yeah? He's made the eyelash. If I throw something at you, you go like that. How many times do you blink a day? You don't even count it. There used to be one annoying thing this stupid idiot in school he used to do. He used to look at me like that and he used to go. And you just end up doing that the whole day and you can't stop it. You go mad. You're like, what the hell you do that for, man? You made me go crazy now. All day I'm going to be going like that. And you start thinking about, did I blink? Even now, right now, it's happening to me now as well. Yeah, it drives you crazy. But you don't think about it, innit? That's one way to drive some American soldier crazy, innit? When he captures you, go like that. He'll be like, what? Bin Laden, what? Oh, man, forget this guy. Just tell him to go home, man. He's driving me crazy. Tell him to drive me crazy. You know what I mean? This guy's driving me nuts, yeah? So the hair, nose, taste, eyelash, yeah? Allah Azza wa Jal, He's created soles within your own feet. We got all trainers now, but once upon a time, man didn't have trainers. He didn't have slippers. So how would he know what to walk on and what not to walk on? He would end up with some broke up feet, you know what I mean? There's some one toe he would have had left over. He wouldn't have nothing, you know what I mean? All of this, I mean, the list is endless, yeah? But let's go to G now, is the management of provision for the creation. Not number G, letter G, yeah? The management of provisions for the creation. The management of provision for the creation. So we can give example. Air, correct temperature, sunlight, daylight, darkness at night. This is a management of provision for the creation. We get tired. It's in our nature to get tired. What happens when you get tired and you go to sleep? You wake up refreshed. You're able to function. What if, for example, there was no nighttime? How do you sleep? How many brothers can sleep with their eyes open? No one, unless you're on drugs. Yeah. Okay? But you can't sleep with your eyes open. You have to close your eyes. What happens when you close your eyes? You see darkness. When you see darkness, you feel tranquility. When you feel tranquility, your body relaxes. It snoozes. That's why they say, if you can avoid driving at night, avoid driving at night. Because they know by nature, or nothing called nature anyway, yeah? By nature, a man is inclined to fall asleep or rest at nighttime. Allah made the nighttime for sleeping, not staying awake all night and sleeping all during the day. It's abnormal. So you can understand that. All of this, we use this to say Allah is the creator, the all-wise, the all-aware, the one who guides, the one who's the bestower of bodies and the beautiful form, the one who gives, the one who guides, the one who's the life giver, the one who's the protector, the one who's the provider. Everything to do with Tawheed Ar-Ruboobiyah, it can be proved. And it is anything, all of the attributes and the functions of Allah are solely for Him. We run out of time anyway now, it's 12:15 now. The next part of the topic we're going to have to do next week is the 7 main proofs for Tawheed Ar-Ruboobiyah. And you can write them down right now as a list, yeah? And you know what we're going to discuss next week. The first one is Fitra, Al-Fitra. Second one is the same message of the prophets, or the prophets. The message of the prophets, yeah, put down the message of the prophets. Number 3 is the miracle of the prophets. And the miracle of the prophets, you can call them the Shari'i signs. The Shari'i signs, yeah? Or the divine signs. Number 4, let me know if you're ready because I might be going too fast for you. Yeah. Number 4 is the laws that the prophets they came with. Number 5 is the character of the prophets. Number 6 is the creation. You can also say that is the Shari'i signs in the nature. The creation. And number 7 is common sense. I literally mean that, by the way. It's called common sense, just in case you think I'm making fun out of you. Yeah, it's common sense, isn't it, number 7? It's common sense. Huh? That's going to be next week, yeah? And also, then next week we'll also do Tawheed al-Tadbir wal-Tasarruf. We'll go through the proofs of the Quran and the intellectual proofs for that as well. We may even be able to do... No, we won't be able to do it now. Then the week after that we'll do Tawheed al-Qadr, Tawheed al-Hakamiyya Taqwaniyya, and that will finish Tawheed Ar-Ruboobiyah, and then we'll do Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat.
At the beginning you mentioned general level and specific level. What was that for?
General level, specific level,
Right
yeah?
at the beginning.
Yeah, let me go to my notes. All right, yeah. Okay, we were talking about Allah in charge of the affairs and nourishing. We say that's general and specific. General is for Muslim and non-Muslim in terms of physical needs, yeah? And the specific one is for the Muslims, meaning or in terms of those people who He guides to Islam. So general is physical and specific is spiritual.
Now both of them were in regards to what?
In regards to Allah being the one who is the caretaker or the one who nourishes. So He nourishes us in the physical as well as the spiritual.
Then the manufacturing of the car example, yeah?
Yeah.
What was the second point?
We said if there was no driver or pilot, yeah, then the car or the plane would move in an irregular fashion.
And the next one?
And the third one was, as a result of this, Allah is the one who manages and governs the whole of the universe. And then after that, number 4 was if Allah didn't exist, then the moon and the stars would not be synchronized and everything would move in an irregular pattern. Yeah? You got it. Doesn't matter if you didn't get all of them, but the point is just to comprehend it and understand it. It's the first thing you want to do before you start going over your notes and start memorizing them. But, you know, as long as you get the gist of the argument, you want to utilize this in your dawah. So when we're on, for example, in an arena of dawah, or we're inviting people to Islam, you shouldn't be thinking to yourself, what do I say to this man? There should be loads that you should be like, where do I start from? There's so much I can say to this man. But it's a matter of studying, obviously, isn't it? So when we go to the next part, honestly, is really beautiful. It's really good. Inshallah, it will increase your iman. When we discuss all of the proofs for Tawheed al-Haq, the 7 main proofs. Obviously, we mentioned the Quranic evidences and we've mentioned the intellectual proofs. But when we go through the fitrah and the Prophet's saying messages All of these things, this will lead on to the discussion. So when you start off your discussion, say, what do you believe, my friend? Or how do you believe we came into existence? What do you think about our purposes in life? So obviously, this will be something good. Okay, we'll finish it there. Wa sallallahu Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.